Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Frame by Frame podcast, your podcast for all things UX and UI. If you're only just tuning into us, I'm Cross Preston, along with my co host Zach Orleski and Will Carson, and we are all UX designers who also dabble in the world of UI. For those of you returning, we've got a really great episode this week. It's something we've touched upon in a previous episode, in our introductory episode, but this week we really wanted to dig deep and really open the professional envelope of transitioning from one career to another. Now, of course, it's not a linear process. It sounds easy, but it's actually not. You could be a graphics designer, you could be a customer service manager, you could be a chef, you could be anything. And there's no set way for transitioning into the world of UX and UI design. And this is something that we really feel, as we all come from different backgrounds. I mean, I do come from a web and graphics design background, along with customer services, training, development, and leadership. Zach comes from graphics design and also does programming. And Will, he also comes from
I
a
come from some weird
developing
stuff.
background, and he's also, yeah, you do come from some weird stuff, but ultimately we all embarked on the same journey, but the journey was obviously different by the way we worked it, by the way we learned. However, we all ended up graduating as UX designers. So what do you think it what do you think it takes to transition? What are the challenges? What are the thoughts? What are your expectations versus realities? And how do you know whether UX and UI is something for you? Well, we're going to look into that today. Zach, would you like to kick us off this week? If you want to tell us give us a bit more detail about your background and why and how you transitioned into UX design.
Did that mute or unmute? This answer could be long. I have a crazy background. Let's see.
Well, instead of the long answer, give us the short answer.
That would actually be way better. So short answer, I studied visual communications, and then I decided I would try to go into graphic design, and then in this process, I started doing like life drawing and sketching and a little painting, but I really stayed with pen and ink. I mean, even now I carry around a sketchbook all the time. But let's see. After I graduated, I worked in a brewery and was drawing tattoo designs for some people I knew, and got lucky. And one asked if I had ever thought about tattooing before. And then I got an apprenticeship, and then I tattooed for, oh my god,
I keep forgetting that about you, that you were a tattoo artist. You trained
yep,
as an ink specialist.
I did that professionally till 2017, 2018. And
Wow.
Just as a question to that, what's the weird? Because I'm sure our listeners out there would also have the same question. What is the weirdest tattoo someone requested from you, or the shop that you worked at? What was the weirdest tattoo or the weirdest request?
well, I think I have to keep it rated for our show. So
Ah, okay, okay. Well, okay. The PG version, or the any age one, the weirdest
man,
one that everyone can listen to.
the weirdest one. That's actually really hard. There's so many. The funniest ones were always like couples names.
Hmm.
When people would
Or
get the other.
Chinese or
No,
Chinese
no.
symbols.
Oh,
You know,
those were just a bad trend. That was horrible because I did a lot of cover ups, and so I had to get rid of a lot of that. But yeah, no, I can't even give you one. There's so many. I once did a pine cone on somebody's uh buttocks.
oh, on the rear part of the anatomy.
Yeah, that one really stands out. What else? Oh man, there's so many. I could actually make a huge list and probably write a best-selling book about tattoo horror stories.
Well, maybe you could do that as a sort of bonus featurette for midweek or something. But then,
I'll I'll
but yeah,
I'll do that for our 100th episode. We'll do a
that would be great. I would even just listen to that. I wouldn't even dare speak because it would be so interesting. But
um
just to get back to the point. I mean, I just wanted to ask that. So you were working as a tattoo artist. Then what did you do briefly?
I kind of got burnt out like towards the end. You start to get burnt out if you're super busy all the time as a tattoo artist, because it's like your brain is constantly having to be in creative mode, because it doesn't matter if you're actually doing a tattoo, drawing a tattoo, or standing at the desk. You're talking to somebody about something creative that you're thinking up or designing, and it's a different kind of design at that point. Like, I love the creativity you get to have for the most part. The terrible thing is when people come in with cookie cutter tattoos for 2 weeks, and then you don't even want to take walk-ins.
This is why I always liked henna tattoos as a kid because they would just come off.
Yeah, I have some I wish would just come off, but they don't.
Yeah. But
uh,
anyway, what were you doing after that? Because obviously it sounds like you've always been creative. I mean, tattoo, you're
yeah,
creating art.
so when I started to feel like I was burning out in the tattooing, I just went to part-time. Like, I just did appointment only, and I kind of just booked what I wanted to book. And then I actually did stone carving on the side and was carving like monuments and stuff. Um, Never done that before, and that was one of those jobs where you're like, just here's my background. I'm pretty sure I can do this. And the 3D like carving with the like little sandblaster, that was always fun. But yeah, they gave me a couple like tryout stones, and then they were like, okay, when can you start? I was like, wow, all right. Um, so I did that for like 4 years, and then I moved over here because I just didn't want to be in the States anymore. I had visited a friend and was like, I got to get out of there. But when I came over here, the requirements for graphic design are way different than in the States, and a private school does not qualify you. Like, it's not an international degree. And so I found out I would have to do more school here to get the job I wanted in graphic design if I wanted to do it.
That's always the
And
case. Many countries, their university degrees or apprenticeships are not generally accepted here in Germany. I think it's probably because it's part of sort of becoming German that I think maybe Germany wants people to go through their system just so it can be said that they did things the German way.
yeah, I mean, why not? Of course. But a lot of design paths like are mostly English. Like, a lot of places you'll work in design, it's English. I obviously deal with German at my job, but for the most part, we still speak English. So it's yeah, I don't understand the requirement, but yeah. So after I moved here, I didn't go back to tattooing. I decided that was something I would still keep. Like, I still draw, I still do all that. I still have all my tattoo stuff, and I tattoo myself from time to time. And yeah, I started working terrible jobs here just because I needed the money. So I was cooking again. I hadn't done that since college, and just didn't know where I wanted to go. But every option I had was like, okay, I'm going to work construction. Okay, I'll go work. I worked in the vineyards for a while and was doing like the grapevine twisting and stuff. And then
Yeah.
I built kitchens for a little while, and that was all right, but it was a really
Well, it seems like you've had a very eclectic background, but it's all to do with creating or building or constructing. It's all
yeah. That's
creativity, but it's very
that's
eclectic. I mean,
I think that's why I chose UX and got so interested in it, because it was like it's a totally different kind of creative outlet. And I've always drawn, I've always liked doing puzzles, I've always liked playing music and y- yeah, so it fit right in as far as the creative side. The puzzle part was the best because it's like, okay, here's a problem, let's fix it, and give us the most creative way how that's best for the person you're designing it for. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing. Like that's my calling right there. And before I actually picked a boot camp, I was working here as a stonemason, and it was like killing me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore, and so I got a freelance job with a graphic design firm, and then was doing some freelance UX on the side. And yeah, it just happened at the right time where I was like, okay, I'm doing this boot camp because that's where I need to be. I can't do this other stuff anymore. It's going to kill me. And yeah, I just went that route, and I had a long talk with my family about this beforehand, and yeah, it was agreed that maybe a boot camp's the right decision. At the time, it seemed great, and then I don't even know how far through my boot camp was, but it started with the layoffs, and like you could start seeing the
Yep,
flooding of the
absolutely.
market, and so I started to get worried, and that is also part of transitioning from one career path or multiple career paths to another. And it's scary because I've never been so scared in freelance. Like, okay, I could do freelance, but these people are either going to take all the jobs that I can't get, and I'll just have to do freelance for a long time, um, or they're all going to go to freelance like I decided to with graphic design, and then we're all kind of screwed because they have more experience, and it's the big fish in the little pond at that point.
So, in that case, what would you say were the top three challenges you faced in that transitional process?
Yeah, that's tough because you're looking at a decision you made that you discussed, and it seemed like a great decision. And then it's uncertainty. Like that's the first challenge is you have to be ready to deal with a bit of uncertainty. And I would say maybe a little more now. Um, it's definitely something you want to have a support system for. Like challenge number two is it'll break you if you don't have something like in place to keep your sanity and maybe cheer you up a little bit or feel like yes I did make the right choice. And you keeping like determination would be the third. Like it's really easy with the first two challenges to let the third one just take over because at that point you're broken. Yeah, like you just have to know like okay, I'm going to stick it out. And I in my case I really enjoy UX and UI. Like it's the probably one of my most favorite things I've done. Like I really it hits all the right notes if that makes sense. Like it's where I have to be. And so I just
Mm.
stuck to that mindset and I was like I'll do what I have to do, but this is what I'm going to do. Like this is what I need to be doing. And so I took that attitude and finished the boot camp. And I actually started applying before I finished the boot camp because I was doing some freelance stuff and some passion projects on the side, so I had extra to show. But I'm so passionate about it. It was like, all right, it doesn't matter. I will go and work at a bar and uh, do whatever job I need to do to just pay my bills until I find this job. But I'm going to find that job. Like it's out there, and I don't care how many no's I hear. I know I'm good at what I do when I stick to it. So yeah, that's if you're transitioning a career, you just have to have a little courage and some determination, but you got to beat a lot of negative energy that challenges those things.
Definitely. So Will, what about you? I mean, would you say some of your top challenges in transitioning, which we will get into afterwards, but what would you say were your three top challenges in transitioning into UX design before you talk about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh man, the number one challenge for me was just patience. Um, let's see. Number two was direction. Number three, I'm not sure just yet, but let me describe the first two, and I think as I describe that, maybe you'll find what my third one is. But I started my job search desperate and impatient, and I didn't feel good when I was looking for jobs. I didn't feel good when I was trying to figure out what my next steps were supposed to be. Once I really doubled down on patience, then all the negativity kind of disappeared. So I've been able to keep a calm head throughout the rest of my process. Even though I'm not a paid designer, I was able to keep the patience to ask people for free work, volunteer work. Like, hey, can I work for you for $0? And that has allowed me to get real world experience. And even though I'm still making my money by moving sushi from the kitchen to people's plates, like, doesn't matter. I have developed the patience now. I can keep doing this for as long as I have to until the design money comes in. Um, and then the second one I said was direction. This was a big one for me because at first, when I graduated from my boot camp, I thought like, nope, I will not be getting specific at all about what I want. I just want a job in the industry. That's it. And so I cast a very wide net. And after like 6+ months of zero responses, like zero phone screenings, zero interviews, zero messages back from recruiters, I was like, all right, I've developed the patience. Let me try to apply that here to find a direction now. So I was able to narrow my direction. I know that my life's mission now is to increase job satisfaction. So now my focus and my direction is any job that will help me along the path to increasing job satisfaction globally. So it doesn't matter for me if it's ed tech or if it's working for a boot camp to try to help career changers or if it's working at like some sort of executive coaching or executive teaching thing. Anything that helps me get closer to increasing job satisfaction is the way for me. This also allows me to tailor my resume more appropriately. This also allows me to tailor my case studies and my portfolio and my personal brand on LinkedIn more appropriately. So, just yeah, getting the patience and the direction down have led to massive improvements in just my fulfillment doing the work and my happiness in my current situation, even though I'm not paid to design yet. Um, just those two things have been so helpful for me. I guess a third thing would be open to experience or just openness. Um, if I didn't try to keep an open mind about what I could do, like I used to hold myself back a lot from creative endeavors because throughout middle school and high school and college, I just didn't, I saw myself as not similar to the creative kids in school. I was just so different. And I was like, all right, that must mean I am not a creative person. But then in the last year and a half, I've kind of taken those shackles off me and I've become willing to do new things. For example, I never would have been on a podcast a year ago. It would never have crossed my mind. I would never have started reading again to try to learn new things. I read a book on marketing and sales recently, and that's just something that's always kind of scared me. But now it just looks pretty cool, actually. So that just openness has led to massive developments in my own knowledge and my own skills, which will definitely help me once spring comes around with more job applications available and just my future opportunities in general. So yeah, it's going to be patience, direction, and openness for me.
Yeah. And how would you say you came to those challenges? Was it based on the journey in your previous background and roles? I mean, what were you doing for the benefit of those listening? What were you doing, say, before? So, from the first time you got your first proper professional job, how would you say those challenges were shaped by those experiences?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I went to college for computer engineering. And while I was in college, I ended up getting an internship for 2 summers at an aerospace engineering company here in the US. I also ended up working for them during my senior year. And I never enjoyed it. Like, never. It was always far too slow for me, just never entertaining. Just the people there were not the kind of people that I wanted to be around. They were the sort of like, let me go to work, collect my paycheck, and go home sort of people. And it took me a while to understand that that wasn't the type of person I'm trying to spend 40 hours a week with. I'm trying to have fun at work because work is one third of our lives. I refuse to be miserable for a third of my life. So I realized upon graduation that, hey, no, I can't do this. I will move home with my parents. I will do whatever I have to do, but I can't do this. This is not the path towards enjoyment and fulfillment for me. I thought I was going to join the military. So I just took a random part time job helping out my uncle in the meantime as I got ready for the military. And then so many things went weird. Um, I wanted to be a an officer. That's a specific type of job path within the military in the U.S. But then my recruiter, just the way he talked about it, made it sound like I shouldn't do that. I should go the enlistment route. But then I changed my mind again, which was definitely unprofessional of me. Just so many back and forths. And then COVID started, and then I heard like, "Hey, it's going to be another 6 months before we can get you in." And then I heard that like 4 times. So I felt like I was being strung along for like a year and a half, all while working for my uncle, which I did not like doing. So I went from not enjoying engineering to feeling like I was being strung along and not enjoying moving stuff around the backyard, and which was great exercise, but I didn't enjoy it. And then from there, it was just, hey, I'm desperate. I need any job right now, and I would take whatever job came through first, and that never helped me. It always went wrong. And I got so frustrated and so desperate. I was thinking, like, all right, I'm a very smart person. I've done well in every sort of academic adventure I've always taken. I don't need the multiple years of experience that all these entry level jobs are asking me for. Like, I don't need a degree in like medical technology to work the front desk at a outpatient office. I don't need it, but then I'm still getting rejected for it. So that was a long period of pain for me. 2021 specifically was probably the worst time in my life because I had such a terrible relationship with my career. And I lacked patience, most of all. Also lacked direction because all I was looking for was something I didn't hate, but I wasn't being specific enough. And then I also was not being open because I kind of refused to learn new things because I just told myself, like, hey, I'm a really fast learner. I can learn on the job. I don't need to spend all this time in my free time. So 2021, I had seriously led myself astray while lacking those three values. And then 2022, once I started my boot camp, I decided, like, all right, no more complaining, no more being a patient, no more desperation. I am working in this ramen shop until I am at a better spot, and until I graduate my boot camp. And 2022 was really the start of a big turnaround for me. 2023, after I graduated, I've only experienced larger growths because I became open, I became patient, I developed a direction. And so
You
just experiencing
you
the
have a
pain of those
strategy
years.
now.
Exactly, I have a strategy. And just experiencing the pain of those multiple years of no patience, no direction, and being closed off to ideas and new experiences, like the pain and that obstacle was really the only way that I even developed these three values to the point where I am now.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're in a very good place, and you're ready for that opportunity, which will come along, hopefully.
One day.
I think that's the most difficult thing. I think even though we have these challenges, I think that the challenge itself is not preparing for your first role. I think everyone is prepared, especially when you become more desperate for a career. I don't like again, I don't really like to say job because for me a job is something you have to do to pay bills, whereas a career is something you want to do to obviously do more in life. Um I would say for me my top three challenges were when I was making the transition. I mean, I've had a fairly I wouldn't say no, I would say it's a varied career, but it's always been to do with people. It's not as though I was working in manufacturing where you only deal with colleagues. You don't actually deal with anything. Maybe my social media content moderation background was something that we weren't dealing with customers, we were just dealing with content. However, I would say that the rest of it all ties in. Customer services, sales, I did do sales for a short while, customer retention, training and development, as because I was a trainer, I was a training coordinator, and also joint co-interim training manager, but I was given the tasks of the training coordinator, and a colleague of mine was given the full interim training manager position. Although I believe I know why that was because they didn't really have a lot of experience, and it was a case of they would do things the way that the company would want, even if it wasn't a good way. It was a good way in the sense of it wasn't really working, but it was working enough for them to be able to do what they needed to do. But for me, the top three challenges were, the first one was not having that security of having a full-time job. Even though I I would say I had low paid jobs, my best paid job was as a hotel supervisor. Not that I stayed there all that long, but I would say that the plan I had was to transition into doing UX design because I was always creative, like you, Zach. I play music, doing arts, painting, sketching, drawing. Uh, what else? Or oil crayons, watercolors. Done all that at some point in life. But I knew I wanted to do something else. I wanted to do more. I wanted to have a career. But the first challenge was not having that security. It was a case of, okay, I've been on unemployment benefit tier one, as it's known in Germany, and done it before. And I thought, well, you've got to make sacrifices. That's what life's about. And I thought, no, this will be fine. This will be a sacrifice for my own greater good, so to speak. And then I would obviously get a job. Uh, what I would assume would be a good job, or even a job in UX design. It doesn't have to pay 50K a year, even 40K a year. But it's tough because you have to adjust to not being able to buy as many things as you want, cutting out certain groceries. The second challenge was the fact that it was educational. I never went to university, and I always struggled in playing with the system of having to do exams just to prove that I've understood something. And that was tough for me, having to study again, which I was doing. I was doing studying, and yeah, I learned German and I did extra stuff. But for me, that wasn't quite the same. Learning a language is not quite the same as learning another skill, a specific technical field. And the third one was, this is a tough one. I don't know if I could say there's a specific third challenge, or whether it was a culmination of lots of different reasons. But I think the third one was acknowledging that there was some degree of uncertainty regarding my expectations as to graduating and getting a job. Obviously, it's been what, 3 months now, 3 or 4 months since I graduated, and I would say that that prospect was that potential reality was the third biggest challenge for me. And I think it's important to stress that it isn't an easy decision to make, even if you're really passionate, even if you've got a plan, you've got a strategy. It isn't easy because it's a different way of doing things. You are going to have to study again. You are going to have to learn. And I think that is something which is underestimated. I think that people are like it's not quite the same as moving to another country, but the parallel is there in the sense of you can be really determined, but there will be things you will come across that you've never come across before because it's completely out of your comfort zone, I think. And the transition, I mean, we've all graduated from Career Foundry. Why did you guys choose Career Foundry as a boot camp? In order, was it to do with how you thought the transition would be smoother? What was it about Career Foundry that you guys liked in order to pick? I mean, I will talk about why I picked it, but I think our listeners out there would be very interested as to why you guys picked Career Foundry. Well, why we all picked Career Foundry.
For myself, I took a lot of time when thinking of the best way to get into this field. And so I examined a few other courses and was reading reviews, and I was really skeptical of a few of the promises a few of them were making. And I still see them doing that. And it's a shame, especially with this market. Like, they should be very transparent with the people they're getting to take their boot camps now. I feel like that's very important, especially if you're making a transition, is look specifically at different boot camps. Don't just pick one, because like, I'm not going to tell you to go to Career Foundry because I went there, but I will tell you that I went there and I learned things in a way where I could teach myself the way I learned best. They just laid it out for me because I didn't know where to start. And the things I was learning on my own, I didn't feel were in the right order, or maybe I prioritized them wrong. So I did a lot of searching on the best possible way I could do this, and Career Foundry came up in the end as not only a good choice for the curriculum that they offered, but I could also have it paid, um, which was nice, because that helped sway the boss of our household to okay this decision, because it's an expensive decision. So if it's not one you can have paid, or have help with, uh, really do your research beforehand. Like, don't just take that money and throw it at the first person that says, "Hey, I will put you through a UX course." Um, really read reviews and really take some time, and before you even sign up for one, maybe evaluate the market potential you have for yourself to get a job, and at the same time evaluate how much time you can give yourself after graduating to allow that to happen. So how hard are you willing to work during this boot camp to make sure you have the best chance possible, and how long can you sustain an after graduation marathon of job applications?
Right. Yeah. For me, I did not take my time figuring out the best way to do this. I was like, all right, I am really, really not having a good time in my current job. I need to get on the path to education right now. So I left my job selling insurance. I went to that ramen shop and I was like, all right, I need to start a course right now. The only real names that even came across my Google search results were Career Foundry, General Assembly, and Google. Google's seemed like it was a little bit more of an intro. I wanted something that was going to be a little longer and a little more in depth. I have never taken.
Like a master
Yeah,
class.
exactly. And so I didn't. So I didn't really consider Google. It pretty much came down to General Assembly and Career Foundry for me. There are so many more than just three boot camps, but just those are the ones I found. General Assembly just came out to be more expensive than I was interested in. At the time of viewing it, they were somewhere around 12 to 15,000. Um, I just wasn't comfortable taking out a loan for that much. General Assembly, no, Career Foundry, I think it was like 8K at the time. After in after oh come on, after the interest on it, it was somewhere around 9,500. That I was comfortable taking out a loan for, so I was like, all right, let me start. I had a phone call with one of their reps, and I was like, "Yep, I'm ready. Let's go." Just the first Monday in January of 2022. I'll start. Uh, that's what it was for me. And I've heard of some people having good experiences with their mentors and tutors, and some people having bad experiences. Um,
Mine was mixed.
all right, that's all right. I had a good time with my tutor. He was really passionate about the field, really knowledgeable. So I really didn't have any extra questions for my mentor whenever it came time for meetings with my mentor. Um, But I do know that if you have problems with your mentor or tutor, you can just request to get a new one, and they'll do it. Like they'll honor it for you. So that's really nice. Um,
They do a good job making sure people get a great experience with them.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
will
they do have really good customer support.
I will say, however, when I was going through my course, just at that point you're educating yourself in this industry, but the more you learn and the more you're reading and the more you're seeing, there was a few times where I had commented on some of the information and I was like, this should be updated because this is no longer the industry standard. Or there was a few things where I was like, okay, you're telling me to keep on top of trends, but the previous paragraph had information that is no longer really relevant. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there was a couple things, and they changed it already.
Oh,
So
cool.
they do listen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they do listen to people. It's not like they're, we already have our curriculum. No, like they're trying really hard, so they do a great job.
Yeah, I only have I'll be honest, I and I'm being totally objective here. I actually had a really good experience with Career Foundry right from the off, from sending them the job center training voucher, also known as a Bildungsgutschein in German, and everything was smooth sailing. The onboarding was good. I must admit, I did misinterpret something. I kind of thought when I saw classes, I thought, oh, is it going to be a virtual classroom? But then actually it wasn't, and it was really nice being able to set my own pace in studying. I decided to do it full time, obviously, and it was really good. And I had a really good time with my tutor and mentor. I mean, my tutor he's a senior UX designer for a pretty big company. I used to raise technical support tickets for this company, and he would always give you more than just say, "Yeah, that was good, that was bad." No, he'd give you more than just referencing the material. He would actually give his real life experience as a UX design that was relevant or pertinent to the task at hand, which was really good, and had a good rapport. And my mentor also had a good rapport with him. I mean, we actually have a shared interest, although he does more the building, but we have a shared interest in classic cars, and always had a good thing. And I really liked how he gave, like with my tutor, how they gave the feedback. It was constructive, but also giving praise where necessary. It wasn't so much a case of, oh, I'll just give constructive feedback. I'll also give praise on what was good, what I did right in the tasks. And I think that's also important because it shows that it's not just about making mistakes. And I don't think that you only learn from making mistakes. I think you can learn from your successes as well. And sometimes you learn more from a success than you do a failure, depending on where you go going forward. Sometimes when I've had a success, I think, oh, I've got more confidence in knowing that I will do it like this again until I make a mistake or it's not relevant. The reason I chose Career Foundry was I remember something the last time I was going on unemployment benefits when I did my German course. Well, I did a couple, and I managed to get them to pay half towards the courses, which was good. So I was paying half, and then someone told me somewhere along the line that they do something similar for improving yourself by taking a course. So I thought, okay, I'll look into that. And then I was researching on Google. I was researching training vouchers, Bildungsgutschein, UX boot camps. I looked at Google. I looked at a couple of others, and then I came across Career Foundry. And yeah, I saw reviews, and of course, there's always going to be a couple of reviews of people having bad experiences. But my mentor clarified, and this is kind of what I suspected, that I think a few people who left bad reviews about Career Foundry is they sort of thought that they would be guaranteed a job. They took the guarantee as meaning, oh, hey, we get you into a job, when really it's more guarantee as in Career Foundry is so confident that you'll get a job that if you don't, then you get refunded. So it's not a guarantee of a job. It's just a show of confidence. But I had really good experiences with Career Foundry, and the transition was actually pretty easy. And I really didn't take notice of the transition. I think the closest I came to embracing a transition was just saying, "Oh wow, I'm actually doing something that I have a passion for, something I have a talent for, and something that will." It's not all about the money, but it does help. And it was, yeah, okay, this kind of role is going to pay me enough to be able to really do what I want, which is some simple things. I consider myself a man of simple means, although I'm far from simple. But I really enjoyed it, and again, I'm not going to say, oh, you should choose Career Foundry for my reasons, but I think it can. I think if giving our reasons for choosing Career Foundry, I think it can reassure people. I mean, plenty of people who've graduated from Career Foundry have got jobs. Sometimes when I see the job adverts, I see, oh, a couple of Foundry alumni working here. And I think, yeah, it's just a matter of time. But I don't think boot camps can be to blame for this. I think it's just how the industry has gone. I mean, this is something that we've talked about in last week's episode, which for those of you listening, if you missed it, please check it out because it has lots of relevant information for you. But yeah, I would say the transition was smooth. But again, as I stated earlier on, there were challenges with it. And my tips for transitioning is to accept that it's not going to be easy. Maybe you're juggling a full-time job, or maybe you're on unemployment benefits or state support, and you don't, well, it's not, I won't even say necessarily. I'll say you don't need to have a previous background in design, because I've seen people on LinkedIn where they've transitioned from non-creative fields, non-design disciplines, and they've got jobs. And that's why I think that, yes, it is tough to transition career-wise, but it's not something I think that people should be afraid of. I hope that makes sense, because it can be scary, but I don't think it's something you have to fear. I mean, do you guys have any comments like before we wrap this up? Do you guys have any tips on how to, well, before transitioning into UX and UI design and actually going through the process until you graduate, and then transitioning from graduation to getting your first job in UX or UI design?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's actually one thing I forgot earlier. Another reason I chose it was that Career Foundry offers a 7-day like email course that's totally free. They send you an email every day, have one separate
Yeah,
topic about
yeah,
Career
I
Foundry
thought
each
that was
day,
really cool.
or about UX. I really appreciated that. Just the free, tiny little education right there. But when it comes to actually doing the transitions from a separate career into UX or something similar, number one, just UX is basically the scientific method. Like it's, hey, what's this goal that I'm trying to reach? Let me figure out what I need to know, and then design some sort of hypothesis or a product or a test or whatever to test my assumptions, get feedback from my questions, analyze my feedback, and then redo. Just file that over and over again. That's what UX is. It's basically the scientific method. What's also fun about that is that it's also how you build anything in life. But if it's building a business, building a personal brand, building anything, starting anything new. So if you go through a UX bootcamp or any sort of UX education, I really want you to keep in mind that, hey, what I'm learning here is not only applicable to UX, it's applicable to starting anything. And so what I learned, my next paid position might not even have the words UX or product in it. It might be something else entirely, but that's because I've become more open and I've decided like, hey, I'm willing to do more of a startup route or try to start something new, just using what I learned in Career Foundry. And hey, if I don't work a UX position, that's fine because that education helped me explore into new areas. So I know you probably want to do UX if you're entering a UX bootcamp, but certainly keep in mind that what you're learning in it can apply to so many other things. And just keeping that open mind will help you greatly in the long run. And then a tiny little tip. Um, if you've worked as a customer service rep or anything like that, just on your resume, title it as customer experience specialist. That'll automatically add some relevant experience to your resume. Just got to be able to talk about it in a relevant manner.
Yeah, definitely. Customer services is all about soft skills. And when doing UX design, conducting the research, one has to have soft skills. You have to know how to talk to people. You can't just shove a questionnaire and say, "Hey, I want you to fill this in." I don't think with UX design you can take a uniform approach. You have to. I've always been a fan of taking the holistic approach, which is what I always did in customer services. That's why I never treated one customer the same in terms of, oh, their problem is the same. No, I always looked at it case by case. And it does help if you've got those soft skills. They are invaluable in UX design when you're doing usability testing, when you're getting feedback, when you ask your focus group various questions, when you ask them to clarify. And of course, your soft skills may perhaps someone in that focus group is not able to answer. Maybe they don't give you the answer you're expecting, but you have to be able to handle it. You have to be able to have those soft skills to not make them feel as if they're giving you the wrong answer. And yeah, I think that's a really good tip from Will. If you are from a customer service background, I mean, I should probably rename it to customer experience (CX). But if you are, it's very invaluable for dealing with people, even in the office, even with your colleagues. Those soft skills are not just for customers; they're also for colleagues as well. Soft skills are soft skills, and they're actually more important than the hard skills. Because if you have all of the hard skills, perhaps you're an expert in every program from Figma to Illustrator to React, the Python thing. If you're not able to work with people, then your skills, it doesn't matter how high, how good they are, you have to be able to get on with people. And I actually think if you've got someone where they might not necessarily have skills on an elite level, but their soft skills are up there, I think it's really important because you have to have a team dynamic, just like you have to have a dynamic with your customer. Zach, do you have any sort of tips or closing comments at all?
Read. I don't know how many books you guys read, but I'm a bookworm. I just sometimes will buy books and not even read them, but that's on me. But no,
I do. I do a
I
lot of reading, but it's just on a computer. That's all.
yeah, see, that's fine too. E-readers, I don't care what you use, but read everything you can get your hands on. You don't even have to buy books. I have a lot of UX books though because I find them super interesting to see how different authors solve problems or think about solving problems. And it's not necessarily UX. Like there's business strategy and all sorts of other stuff you can read. Maybe it's boring. That's fine. Read mystery books for all I care. I don't. Reading's good. It teaches you communication. It teaches you how to express ideas and thoughts, which is sometimes more important in brainstorming and teamwork than it is in convincing a stakeholder of something because they might only care about the pretty picture. But if you can include a great story with that, they're sold. Like there's no way around it. I guarantee you will probably sell to a stakeholder on an idea if you can explain it very well and show it a little bit. Yeah. So make sure you're reading books. Articles, anything, and it doesn't even have to be strictly about UX. Maybe that's just me, but if I see something and it's interesting, I'll read it. But as far as UX, it's good to just keep a book of rules laying around sometimes because there's a lot of them and you can break some of them if
Mm,
you want to, but you should at least know how to use that to your advantage. I
definitely.
definitely would say another one is to if you're thinking about transitioning, strategize. Like, make sure you come up with a strategy. It's super important, especially if you're debating on a boot camp or even self-taught. You have to have a strategy for how you're going to complete that. And even after the learning is there, you have to have a strategy for what you're going to do continuing forward, even if it isn't in UX. In Will's case, like, he found something that he enjoys, and it's all because he went through this course. So yeah, strategize. Like, that will solve a lot of your small aches and pains. I mean, the big headaches are always going to be there, but it gives you more energy to attack them at that point, I guess. So it's really good to make a plan. And another one, even if it's product design or any other thing you might be interested in going into design wise, you gotta really enjoy it. Like, if you don't enjoy it, you're gonna hate it, and you're not solving your own problem at
And
that
then you'll
point.
try to
Like, you're just
transition
doing
again.
something. Yeah, you'll either transition
Yeah.
again, or there's some people, they saw what UXers are making, and even though it's on the decline, it didn't stop them from trying to get into the job for the paycheck. And it's like, well, you're gonna burn out as a UX designer because you might not find the joy in some of the stuff you have to do.
That's what happened with graphics design, even recruitment some years ago. There was, as soon as there's a professional trend, more people will jump on the bandwagon. But then it does separate the men from the boys, so to speak, in the sense of you really see who is passionate about that field against versus those who are just in it for the money. And I think it's one of those conundrums that we can ask. Would you rather have a job that pays 70K a year that you might not last in, or would you rather have a job that's only 50K a year, but you enjoy it? I think a lot of us would take less pay, but with more satisfaction, gratification in doing something that we enjoy. And I think I think we've covered all of the vital points that we wanted to cover. So we hope that by listening to this episode, perhaps you are going to transition into UX and UI design. Hopefully, this episode will give you more of an idea about the challenges, but also the potential rewards. And we will talk. We've got another topic lined up next week that doesn't quite relate to transitioning, but it's sort of part of the overall process. But we hope that you've all got a lot from this episode, as indeed every episode that we've done. We're going to wrap up now, but I just want to say once again, as always, thank you very much for joining us. Please share this podcast, email us any questions, no matter if it seems silly, whether it doesn't even seem relevant to UX design. Email it into us, and we will do our very best and utmost to get back to you. So, if my co-hosts want, they can say goodnight if they want to.
Good night. But also, if you're interested in meeting us in person, Zach and I will be attending Figma
yeah.
Config 2024 in San Francisco. We have no affiliation with Figma or anything like that. We are not sponsored by them in any way. Just you can meet us there.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys will be in America.
I'm super excited to meet Will in person.
It's gonna be fun. I looked back in my LinkedIn messaging the other day, and I realized that the first time Zach or I ever messaged each other was this year on my birthday. So thank you again.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, I think I think it's going to be this time. I have a valid reason for not being able to go to America for the Figma 2024. But I think if there are other events and I'm not going there, I'm going to get scared. You guys will think I'm a very cleverly engineered, sophisticated AI. But yeah, for those of you, I mean, obviously once I've started a job, got a career, I do plan on attending events, probably mainly in Germany, perhaps also in the UK as well. I would also like to attend events in America, and I probably would. But yeah, for those of you who are going to that Figma conference in America, you'll get to meet Zach and Will. I've never met them, but I know they're cool people. I mean, I do a podcast with them.
We could do
But yeah,
a couple mini config podcasts.
That'd be fun.
yeah, yeah. Maybe when you guys, maybe that's something, because no doubt, what month is it next year? This Figma conference. When is it
June.
exactly? June. So we'll probably be on what? What would you guys say? Quarter or halfway through season 2, probably.
If we're starting
Something
it at
like
the
that.
new year, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. If we go with 3 months for each season or 6 months. Yeah. So if any of you are in America already, which no doubt you are, or if some of you are going to go over to America in June, go to the Figma conference and you'll get to meet Zach and Will. And they don't charge for autographs, so ask them for their autographs, and they'll number it as well. So you'll be able to get something out of that.
Everyone gets a
But
sketch of
anyway,
a frog.
yeah, they'll probably get it before I do. Yeah, but I will probably, like I said, there'll be events I want to attend. I mean, if there are any events, if you are thinking about going with Career Foundry, and because they had an event in Dusseldorf, which isn't far from where I am, I will attend those, especially if it comes to talking about training vouchers and the process. I am not affiliated with Career Foundry, but I'm always very keen to volunteer my time and experience. And speaking of time, we're wrapping this up. So once again, thank you all very much. A good night, and we look forward to releasing the next podcast and you listening to it. So good night, everyone, and thank you.